I just thought everybody was bringing some scissors.
And there you are, my friend. I'm very purple and red.
We'd like to welcome everybody here this morning for the official inauguration of the newest segment of the Fairfield Loop Trail. It's a very great accomplishment. This particular section of trail takes us all the way into Chautauqua Park. And what I'd like to do is start off by introducing Ron Meyers as our first speaker. And Ron has given many gifts to the citizens of Jefferson County over a number of decades. But today particularly we want to acknowledge him as being the creative spark for trail expansion. Ron was really the mastermind behind starting the Jefferson County Trails Council, so he, in a certain way, is the reason why we're all standing here this morning. Ron Meyers.
Thank you, and on behalf of the Jefferson County Trail Council and many others, I want to welcome you on this beautiful fall morning to what's becoming kind of an annual event. I think this is about the 5th grand opening of a trail segment we've had in the last 4 or 5 years. And each one is significant in its own way, and by itself, this trail, for instance, if it didn't go anywhere, didn't hook up to the other trails, would still be a real nice contribution and addition to recreational facilities and so forth for the city of Fairfield. And there's historical significance too, because we're all, whether you know it or not, and some of you probably do, but you're standing right on the site where the first railroad in Jefferson County was built. This is part of, this crossing right here was part of the railroad built in 1857, the single line narrow gauge that was later relocated and replaced and has become the Burlington Northern Santa Fe. So there's some historical significance to it. Ties in the beautiful Chautauqua Park, which also, of course, there's historical significance. It's been a big part of the community for years and years. And it's interesting to note that in the book Fairfield, I don't know how many of you have read that, but they talk about in about 1840 when this area was being settled and settlers came here, and according to diary records, Mr. Mitchell from New Hampshire was coming through here, came to this creek at what is now Chautauqua Park at Crow Creek, and had a breakdown of his team. He broke a ox yoke or something, and the records say that he searched in vain for a tree large enough to make a repair and go on, and finally gave up and just went on as best he could. And we've all known, all our lives, we've all known Chautauqua Park for its beautiful trees. That wasn't always the case. Of course, you know, Iowa was primarily a prairie state. But anyhow, that's off the subject. This trail, in addition to the bridge, the historical significance, the nice windy trail that, as you will see, if you don't already know, kind of goes uphill from here to the railroad. This bridge, of course, was built by the Trail Council and various volunteers. The bigger bridge that we're going to, a little more complicated, so a contractor was in. And it's not only a bridge, but it's an artistic masterpiece, and I think you'll really see that in a few minutes and enjoy it. But in addition to the singular significance of the trail section itself, it's just another attempt to tie in this whole system. It's making another mile of trail available, more scenery available. The trail, the loop system, the concept of it, a 17-mile loop around Fairfield that ties in various other trails and parks and so forth. Every one of these trail open houses or grand openings that we've had, in addition to the trail itself, it's, I think in every case, it's tied the trail into a park, which is more opportunity as well. So it's just another step forward in an ongoing process to provide good recreation, healthy recreation for the city of Fairfield and residents of Jefferson County. We are seeing other benefits from this trail system. I work at Jefferson County Park, and for the last 2 or 3 years, more and more I'm seeing people come to the park to camp, to bring their bikes, to spend a weekend. There's people going to motels, they're staying over, they're using these trails, they're spending some money. So it's a benefit in a lot of ways for Jefferson County and Fairfield. And I think that's about all I need to say. We'll Ron's gonna make some acknowledgments here. We're gonna then go on, proceed up to the masterpiece. Pardon?
Ed Malloy.
Yeah, and have another kind of a ribbon cutting up there and some refreshments. And I would like to also introduce at this time Honorable Mayor Ed Malloy from the city of Fairfield to say a few words. If he'd come forward, please.
Congratulations and thank you very much. This is another very proud moment for Fairfield, and one where we can again say thank you, thank you, thank you to the Jefferson County Trails Council and all of the quiet, dedicated, incredible work that they've put into not just master planning this trail, but really getting it built and using all of the dollars wisely, bringing together people who would make a contribution through their easements, bringing grants from the federal government, from the state government, bringing a quality reputation to our city, which is something that we're all partners in building, but this is just a wonderful, wonderful addition. And just as Ron mentioned, we are at this point adding to our history in Fairfield. These trails will be here for hundreds and hundreds of years forward because of their importance to human health and because of all of our appreciation of nature and being in the outdoors. And I think it's just incredible in a city that's over 160 years old that we still have room to develop something like this within our city limits. It's fascinating that we are putting all of this good land to use. We've opened up in areas, not just this area, but many areas within our city that most of us weren't even aware existed. So thank you for that. We're really getting full use out of this. We are simply going to run out of accolades for this group because there's more to come, and we do continue to thank them, and we really do continue to appreciate them. They are, as I mentioned, a very important partner in the kind of recreational development and tourism development that we see as a big part of our future. These trails are not just for us to enjoy, but they are attractive. Iowa was probably one of the leading states in the country in terms of trail miles. It is something that the state of Iowa can really promote and build itself on. Our trail is obviously going to be one of the top trails in this system. There's no question about it. And I think that we're going to give Ottumwa a run for their money in terms of being called the city of bridges, because we are adding yet another bridge on this leg of the trail, and there are more to come. So again, I congratulate Ron and Ron as chairs, as chair and past chair, also the rest of the Trails Council. Special thanks to Mark Schaefer and Judy Bales and Schaus Voorhees for their great contribution to the bridge that we're going to be visiting. Again, another wonderful element that was integrated into this. And again, a very proud moment for Fairfield. May we all enjoy this for many years to come. Thank you.
What we're going to do now is just going to have a brief ribbon cutting ceremony here, and then we're going to go up to the big bridge, and we'll also have a ribbon cutting ceremony there. I'd like to call a few people over on this side of the ribbon to help cut and open up this section of the trail. Phil Matkin, please, who designed this bridge, and Phil also designed the bridge at Lampson Woods and the little bridge over the spillway at pond number 2. So Phil. Josh Adams, please. Josh, come on over. Josh, for his Eagle Scouts project, Troop 108, built that beautiful kiosk at the other end here at Chautauqua Loop. He built 2 additional ones, which we're going to use on other sections of the trail. Sue Huggins. Sue Huggins, representing the Huggins family. Huggins family made a very generous contribution towards this bridge, and this bridge will be named after the Huggins family. Here's scissors. Let's see. Anybody from the Osby family here? Osby family? I'll just mention them in passing that Ed Osby owns Parkview Care Center and is extremely generous and kind-hearted and gave us a perpetual easement from here up to the bridge, and incredibly flexible and just very generous. So I want to acknowledge him. Connie, why don't you step forward as representing the City Council, Connie Boyer. City Council has been very, very supportive of the trail project. Thank you. Pam Kraft. There's Pam. Here she is. Thanks. And Pam is the superintendent of, the Park and Rec for the Parks Department, and she just does an incredibly good job with a limited staff, and she also responds to our calls if there's a tree down on the trail or whatever. Pam is just incredibly supportive also. We have Bill. Is Steve Triplett here by any chance? Then Ron Hunterdos. Here, come on over, Ron. Ron's representing both the school district, Fairfield High School School District, and he is the coach of the girls cross country team. And as soon as we had gravel on this section of the trail, all the cross country kids were running across it. So really great. I think we'll also ask Dale Krause to step forward. Where's Dale?
Oh, there he is.
Recently retired. We can say that Dale Krause is an incredible grantsman. He helped us write all of our grants. We've probably gotten almost $1 million in grant funds over the last 7 years, and Dale is hugely responsible for guiding us and mentoring us and helping us through that whole process. So, great thanks to Dale. I think we were out of scissors, not out of people. So we're going to have these people step forward to the ribbon. And can you get in there? And on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Great. So now we're going to head on up the trail to the bridge at Burlington Northern. Well, very good. I'll be welcome back, guys. Yeah. Great. It is right now, really. Oh, they put a ribbon after we went through here. I think we better get on our way over and get run over. Before we get to this ribbon cutting, I'm going to ask Ron Meyers. He said he'd like to say another couple words here, so.
I only wanted to say, Ron does these things, and at the last minute he says, and I want you to talk about something or say something, right? So I'm never prepared, and he gives me far more thanks and credit than I deserve. You know, I did help get the Trails Council started, but as I look back on all it's accomplished, I can't believe how incredibly naive I was as to what it was going to take to do this, and what it has taken, besides a lot of volunteers and names that we could list forever, but most importantly, and single most thing that it's taken, was Ron Blair, because Ron Blair...
Well, thank you, Ron. Actually, a number of people have asked, how did you pull this off? And the answer is, I don't really know, this particular bridge. But what it did take was it took hard work, persistence, luck, and teamwork. And I emphasize teamwork because we had a lot of players involved in making this happen. And so two of the foremost team players that I'd like to introduce to you would be the artistic director, Judy Bales, and Mark Schaefer, who really were responsible for all the artistic enhancements. And I'm going to introduce to you first Judy Bales, who is the director of the artistic enhancements for the bridge.
I'll just really briefly read the text that's on the signs that you'll see at both ends of the bridge. And this just gives a brief overview of the design concepts for the artistic enhancements. And always having knowledge about anything increases the experience. So that's why we wanted to be sure that there was some information available for the people that use the bridge. So many of you have read this, but if not, I'll read it quickly. The design for the bridge's steel cage was inspired by several historic structures, particularly the timber framework of locally designed and manufactured Louden barns. The old wooden railroad trestles and bridges of a bygone era were also sources of inspiration. By elongating the angles and alternating their direction, artist Judy Bales created a pattern that gives rhythm and dynamism to the bridge while still being reminiscent of the structures that are pictured on the sign that you can see. This theme continues in the ceramic tiles that enhance the bridge's concrete curb. These tiles were designed and created by Mark Schaefer's advanced art classes at Fairfield High School. They depict details of Louden barn blueprints and Louden Machinery parts catalogs. The bridge blends history and design in an elegant display of public art that is pleasing to the eye, functional, and educational. And I especially want to thank all the members of the Jefferson County Trails Council for taking the leap of faith that was required to allow artists to be so intimately involved in this project, to be involved in such a major way. There was understandably some caution from their side when we embarked on this aspect of the project, but they have been unfailing in supporting Mark and myself in every step of the way. This has been a team effort between artists, engineers, and manufacturers, people who actually have more in common than we normally think. We all worked to transform a mental image into a monumental physical structure. Among other things, the engineers seek to create a structure that will perform its function efficiently. Fabricators, manufacturers seek to build that structure skillfully, and the artists want the structure to function aesthetically. So we simply look at the same problem from different angles. By combining our abilities with mutual respect for each other, we accomplish things that no one of the team members could do by ourselves. This bridge is multifaceted, and trail users will be able to enjoy all of its parts at once, or may choose one aspect at a time to notice. I suspect I'll be drowned out by a train at any moment. There's the overall structure of the bridge, which changes from different angles and from the different approaches. There are the very beautiful and informative tiles, which in fact don't shout at the viewer, but draw us in quietly so that we see more and more each time we pass by them. They also bring a more human scale to the bridge. Then there's the excitement of watching the trains go under and the gorgeous views of the surrounding landscape. And I've been up here several evenings when the sun sets, and it's just really, really beautiful. Although the area looks a little barren now since the construction is so recently completed and the reseeding of the area is so recent, nature has a way of very quickly reclaiming her territory. As the weeks and months and years go by, this bridge will become more and more happily married to this site. It's my great hope that very soon the bridge will be so much a part of the trail and of the community that it will be hard to remember a time when it wasn't here, or a time when the trail did not weave so beautifully through the landscape, through the countryside as it does on this part of the Loop Trail. So thank you all very much for being here, and that's all I have to say.
sprained an ankle a while back, so I'm still kind of going slow. We have a couple of students here, at least. Raina and Miranda, you want to come up and just kind of be my backup? Anybody else here that worked on a tile? Miranda Frankie and Raina Royer. And girls, I have no idea where your tiles are, but when I'm done talking, if you'll find your tile and then just kind of stay by it so people can ask you questions. Okay? Anyway, one of the stipulations for the National Endowment for the Arts grant was that the bridge enhancement celebrate local railroad history. And it was decided because, well, we just wanted to work the Louden Machinery Company, and somehow, because of national significance, it's probably the most historic entity in the county. So we put our heads together and then realized, oh yeah, they were the largest shipper of rail freight on the Rock Island line for many, many years. So that's a natural tie-in with railroads, even though it wasn't this particular line. So, you know, tons and tons, literally, of cast iron fittings for the hay and dairy industry that went all over the world. But then how to integrate that? And we went through all kinds of brainstorming. I had like a parts replacement catalog from the 20s with all the numbered castings for hundreds and hundreds of different devices and doodads for the agricultural operation. And we thought about what, kind of a junk sculpture kind of a thing, but nothing seemed to work because it was all too labor intensive in terms of 1 or 2 or 3 people. So we needed to find something that could involve lots and lots of students, because that's ultimately what we wanted to do, was to integrate my classes at the high school with this project. And one of my students at the time, Shayna Potts, said, well, Mr. Schaefer, you're always fooling around with those old Loudon blueprints, because every once in a while somebody would donate blueprints to the Historical Preservation Commission, of which I chair. And we have like 14 Loudon-related sites in the county that are on the National Register. So people are always donating catalogs and blueprints and so forth. She said, you're always messing around with those old blueprints. Why don't we do blueprints on our tiles? And I think the tiles was that Dave Frederick's idea? Mm-hmm. Dave Fredericks, who was one of the engineers on the project, or he's on the Trails Council or something. It was his idea to do the tiles, which is perfect because that's an individualized, creative endeavor, but it's a group effort also. Anyway, we thought, hey, that's a good idea. So we went to Dave Dahlquist Studios in Des Moines. He's the ceramicist that does all the big ceramic murals around the state, like at the Lewis and Clark rest stop, and there are a number of rest stops on the interstate system that he's designed these ceramic murals for. So he had the clay body formula that would withstand the heat and freeze cycle here in our wonderful Iowa climate. And we thought, oh yeah, we'll just get like a blue clay and paint white lines on it and have blueprints. Or we could do white clay with blue lines. And no, that wouldn't work. It has to be this clay. So we tried the blue glaze. That was the wrong blue. So finally we just kind of decided we just have to go with white and the terracotta, which is what we did. And first semester my students were given Loudon blueprints, which were either overall barn designs, details of barns, or the actual Loudon Machinery Company fittings. And they picked out details of these and did little tight close-ups of the various blueprints. Second semester, we took catalog pages from the 1903 and the 1919 general catalog, and here again we picked out details and played with layout and just selecting different design elements that would make an effective trio of images. And that's what each person did. You did like a Gothic roof? Yeah. Hers is like, Raina's is like one of the Gothic roof curved truss barn designs. And was yours a close-up of I can't remember. It was some iron thing.
It was out of the catalog.
Yeah, hers was out of the catalog. The original for yours would have been about this big. You made it about this big, right? Raina's was a full-size barn, and of course she shrunk it down to 11 inches. So you get this wide variation of images. There's one series that it's the blueprint, the floor plan of the cork block for a dairy stall and the watering bowl, and then another tile is the side view elevation of the blueprint, and then another tile is an actual pictures of the cow drinking from a catalog. So you get all this nice variety. So anyway, we're just real glad it's done. And I'm going to ask Miranda and Raina to find their tiles and kind of position themselves near them. And you can ask questions. Didn't you kind of copy the style of lettering in your signature?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I encourage the kids, if they wanted to sign them, some kids did not want to sign them, that they would try to replicate the style of lettering in the original blueprint in their signature, and that Marina did a nice job of that. Did you sign yours? She's one of these people that wanted to remain anonymous. So the thing that I think is great about this is every high school kid wants to leave their mark someplace. There's always, they want to carve their initials someplace, or backstage if they've been in plays, they want to sign the wall of the dressing room or whatever. This gives them literally a chance to leave their mark for generations to come. So enjoy the bridge. Thank you for turning out, and thank you, Judy, for being such a wonderful partner in this. We had a great time.
Great, yeah.
Thank you again.
Okay, we just have the ribbon cutting here, and we're ready to go on the bridge and enjoy the bridge and refreshments. Okay, we have a limited number of scissors, so I'm going to ask some people actually to double up. I would like to ask Bob Brown to step forward. Bob Brown Excavating. Bob Brown is responsible for building the trails on either side of the bridge. And I think maybe the best job on all the segments of trails that we've built so far. Did a really excellent job. Thank you. Greg Voorhees. I'm going to tease Greg. Greg is a genius because Schaus Voorhees Manufacturing are the ones who fabricated all of the metal up on the bridge, and they had to deal with the whole arc, the whole curve of the bridge. They had to spend countless hours consulting with Judy and myself and just modifying. And then when the fence installers were here and things weren't going exactly right, Greg just came out immediately and tweaked a few little things and got everything in place. He's worked tirelessly on this project and has really been a major contributor. So thank you, Greg. Gordy Oliver. Gordy is a BNSF employee and a local Fairfieldian, and he's representing the Burlington Northern Santa Fe, and without their cooperation, without their issuing a permit, we would not have a bridge over the railroad tracks, so thank you. I'd like to ask the Mayor, Ed Malloy, to please come forward and representing the City of Fairfield. Both the City Council and the Mayor have been very supportive of this project over the last 7 years and have been responsible for, I guess, they are the ones who sign all the grant applications, and they've acted as a funding source and a funding channel, and just always supportive. And also I'd like to ask Stephen Bergmeyer to come up to represent the county. He's one of the county supervisors. And again, the County Board of Supervisors for the last 7 years have been incredibly supportive. Both their predecessors and the current supervisors. This land, I think on the north side of the bridge, is county land, and part of the trail, especially south of Highway 34, the part that will be built by the DOT in conjunction with the bypass, that will be maintained by the county through the County Conservation Board. And the county has been supportive all the way along. Thank you, Steve. are there any members of the Convention and Visitors Bureau? Any of the board members here? I don't think so. No, not Dave. But I'm going to ask Bob Moore, who's president of the Chamber of Commerce, to step forward. Thanks, Bud. Dave Neff, please step forward. Dave is one of the members of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and they see the trail as a resource for tourism and for creating a destination point for Fairfield. So, thanks, Dave. Let's see, who else do we have out here on my list? I'm gonna. Do we have anybody from either DOT? I'm going to ask Joni McGinnis to step forward for. Joni is. Oh, there we go.
Sorry.
Joni is the co-chair of the Fairfield Art Association, and they were large donors to this project and also supportive of the project throughout its inception. And Judy gave a lecture to their group and very supportive. Ginny and Mark, who are co-chairs of the Town and Trail Run that will come across this bridge in the next week. Why don't you also come on over here? Louis is also part of the director of the Bike Fest, Louis Denbaum, and that's the umbrella under which the Town and Trail will be running. You want to step forward, Louis? Chris Hallinger and Jeffrey Randolph are two of our most stalwart volunteers who just are available morning, noon, and night to help on every aspect of the trail. Would you like to step forward? And last but not least is Kent Rice, who not only is going to represent Prince Reniker Engineering, but Kent is really a brilliant, level-headed individual who is absolutely the background, in the background, but responsible for the development of this entire trail system. So Kent, please step forward. Well, I don't know how you're going to divide up these scissors, but those who can.
Ron, stay in there with the clinic.
Okay.
Yeah,
Step forward. And on the count of three, we got the scissors up to the. There you go. Already. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah!
All right. Enjoy. There you go. Oh, thank you. Not on this one. Maybe on this one. The job of these. Support all these people? Yeah.
Sure.
We were
the work on structural steel in that.
Come on, play that.
Trade and stick a bullpen or something in there and grease on it. Structural steel.